and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps...
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट
क्या बात है, स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social posts at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now, when a reporter, during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer, that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
At one point, when you listen to him talk, when you listen to him tweet, you begin to think whether the person is all right mentally. People are beginning to doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, his words are crude, but it also reflects an inner frustration. Heart of heart, he's a very frustrated man.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
Prime Minister's mega address in Australia's Melbourne. PM says Operation Sindhu was just a demo to the terrorists.
Prime Minister Modi, looked at Australia's relationship in its own right, which he has a unique gift for doing, I think, for all the countries he engages with, because, he seeks to have relationships with other nations which are in India's national interest.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison speaks to Arnab Goswami, hails Prime Minister Modi's policies, keeping the interests of Indians in mind.
China having some hegemonic control and impact on that domain. That is not in America's interest, it's not in India's interest, it's not in Australia's interest, it's not in the interest of the free world, frankly. This needs to be a free and open Indian Ocean.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says need free Indian Ocean to ensure a free Indo-Pacific. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis form 7-member committee to prepare a draft proposal for implementing UCC in the state. Iran launches retaliatory strikes. Iranian media claims US bases in Kuwait and Bahrain hit in strikes. Deadlier strikes now being reported. Even strikes near nuclear plants reported. Tensions escalate in Ravla court of POJK. Pakistani Rangers and police fires at protesters. A very warm welcome. You're watching live and big. I'm Rakshita Mishra with you. Start with news coming in from West Asia. US F-16 reported damage and it made an emergency landing in Greece. You can see the visuals that we're going to play out. The Greek Air Force F-16 fighter jet caught fire after making an emergency landing at the Zakynthos airport. The dramatic visuals are coming in. The damaged F-16 made an emergency landing. And those are the visuals. You can see the firefighters also on the spot there. This is the American-made F-16, and that's the visual. Let's shift the focus to what's happening in POJK, viewers. Fresh visuals show Pakistani forces using rocket launchers reportedly on protesters in POK. The Pak forces have unleashed brute force. Bloodbath in POJK, attacking unarmed protesters, women and children not spared, and now you have them using rocket launchers, grenade launchers on POJK civilians. This is the real face of Pakistani army, the Pakistani security forces, the Pakistani Rangers, that's the paramilitary force. They are all losing control of POJK. It's the 9th of July. The ultimatum has been missed. The deadline has been missed by Asim Munir. And now we see the grand and final action day, as the JAAC calls it. Pakistani forces deployed in huge number in POJK. And now we're playing that video which shows how even grenade launchers are being deployed in POJK by the Pakistani forces. Christian Singh joins us live on the broadcast for more. Let's play that video out first so that we can show our viewers that's the real face of Pakistani forces that once again being exposed. Gursimran, well, the situation is grim from Balochistan to Pakistan occupied Kashmir, POJK. We see that Pakistani forces are now resorting to even use grenade launchers.
Yes, if we speak of the situation is gruesome because Pakistani forces are now targeting the civilian population using the military-grade arms and ammunition. This has become like Pakistan is fighting a war. But the reality is that the Pakistan is on the back foot. What we have seen in Balochistan, where 42 Pakistani soldiers have been killed in a week's time in the different operations that have been launched by the rebel group, and that has forced Pakistani army to come down on the knees, and even they came with a public admission that there has been a large-scale damage that has been done to the Pakistani security forces, be it the police officials or the soldiers of the Pakistani army. They are now being targeted by the rebels group, especially in Balochistan Liberation Army, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and in the Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The people of POJK, they are coming out in large numbers, staging the protest for their democratic as well as basic rights that include subsidized electricity, subsidized food grains. But Pakistan is not accepting their demands, and this internal rebellion that has been simmering for years, that has now come out in open with the rebel groups getting this kind of a support.
Right. Just stay. We will in fact come back to you after this. In fact, we will come back to this story, viewers, but right now we have this story coming in from Greece where the US F-16 aircraft, the American-made fighter jet, has made an emergency landing in Greece. It's damaged, and it's part of the Greek Air Force. That's Greek Air Force's F-16 fighter jet caught fire after making an emergency landing. We do not know about the casualties yet. We have Niranjan Narayanaswamy joining us on the phone line. Niranjan, tell us more details about this, please.
Well, very rarely do you see, an F-16 catch fire, and that too, this one is in Greece, on the Greek island of Zakynthos. This is at the international airport there, southern Greece, where there are many videos doing the rounds of the F-16, which is on fire, following an emergency landing. This is of course, the Hellenic Air Force, or Greek Air Force F-16C fighting Falcon. And the flames, you can see that this seems to be an emergency landing. There is a chute that is hanging from the rear of the plane, and the cockpit is open. And assuming that the pilot, you can see the pilot is also the pilot has ejected, and he's being brought out, and he's been taken in the ambulance there, or the emergency vehicle on the tarmac. So it appears like there was just one pilot. That pilot had ejected, and he's seen being taken away at the tarmac itself. So what went wrong, we don't know, but this was the 116th Combat Wing of the Hellenic Air Force. It made an emergency landing, island of Zakynthos. This was this afternoon. Suspected landing gear issue, we are told. It was a single pilot. He's reportedly in good health. You can see him walk. He's obviously traumatized. You can see him walk, limping a bit initially, and extent of damage being assessed to the aircraft. Clearly, there is substantial damage because at one point you see the entire plane go up in flames. So this is what happened in Greece. With so much happening in the Middle East once again, we don't know whether this plane was on any war duty. But we are being told it's a Greek Air Force plane, a Greek Air Force F-16, and this was an emergency landing, and thereby also catching fire. Back to you for now.
Thank you so much, Niranjan, for joining us with details coming in on that story. Now we go back to the visuals that are coming in from POJK, as we see that civilians are now being targeted by the Pakistani Rangers in different parts of POJK. Amid the rising political unrest, we see that the prominent group staging protests, Joint Awami Action Committee, has called for a large and final demonstration. And now you have the protesters in POJK. They are now facing brutality. You can see how they have surrounded this young boy. They've entered houses, storming into houses, not even sparing the women and children. And Pakistani Rangers deployed in huge numbers across POJK, as Munir has missed the deadline, 9th of July deadline, and now the Rangers are attacking the protesters, from grenade launchers to even storming inside buildings. This is the reality of POJK. This is the reality of the occupational forces, that is the Pakistani forces. And it's not just POJK, viewers. It's not just POJK. In Balochistan, Pakistan is again now facing attacks. Balochistan fighters a staged attack in Chakai city using light and heavy weapons. Local sources claim that Pakistani army buildings, banks, police facilities have come under their control. This is a declaration by the Baloch groups, the Baloch fighters. The situation in Chakai of Balochistan is only worsening, viewers. You can see the visuals coming in from the Chakai city. And armed men have set fire to a bank and several other Pakistani government properties there. Sources claim that the fighters have seized multiple offices, multiple government offices, the banks, levy stations, and police stations as well. That as they assert control over much of the town, armed men have set fire to a bank and several other Pakistani government properties also. Now, my colleague Gursimran Singh joins us on the broadcast from Gursimran. Not just POJK, but in Balochistan, Pakistan forces, Pakistan again is trembling, and it can see how the land is slipping away. Chagai town under control of Baloch freedom fighters now.
Yes, Pakistan is struggling to hold on to the territory it has been occupying for several decades, because what we have seen that the people of the Pakistan disturbed areas, Gilgit-Baltistan, Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, all these people have actually taken back their support from the federal government. For the years, they were of the view that the federal government is going to help them, but now the reality is that they have understood that the federal government is only using them as colony and their resources are being misused by the Pakistani side, and that is why we are witnessing the large-scale attacks that are taking place and the growing support for the rebel groups. In Chagai, we are also seeing that similar kind of attacks have taken place. If we speak of last 1 week, there have been 4 major attacks that have taken place, in which 42 Pakistani soldiers have lost their life, and many of them have been taken abducted by these, taken hostage by the rebel groups. So now the Pakistan is struggling in its interiors, and also these areas that Pakistan considers as problematic, they are continuing to mount pressure on the Pakistani army as well as the establishment, because their promises that they have done to the people of these areas, they were never fulfilled, and in return these people, they got backstabbed by committing atrocities by the by the Pakistani army and the establishment. Now these people have understood the reality, and that's why they are extending their support to the rebel groups. Rebel groups are getting the support. Balochistan Liberation Army, it has got a massive local support, and the Pakistani intelligence on ground has failed completely, and that is the reason that these intensified attacks are taking place not only in Balochistan but also in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, even in Gilgit-Baltistan. The situation is simmering, and the Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir situation is before the world.
All right, many thanks for joining us there, Gursimran Singh, with the details on what's happening in Balochistan's Chagai city. We'll get you more on that, viewers. In the meantime, the rift also between Mahavikas Aghadi partners is increasing as we closely track what's happening in Maharashtra politics. Shiv Sena, that is Uddhav Sena's MP Sanjay Raut, has taken a jibe at Sharad Pawar, saying that you are sitting with traitors. Now, this is, viewers, as there are talks of Sharad Pawar jumping the ship is concerned, switching sides is concerned, is coming in, and now you have Sanjay Raut saying that Sharad Pawar is sitting with traitors. And he also, in fact, goes on to say and ask Sharad Pawar, didn't you have any other place to sit in the entire Vidhan Bhavan? So, viewers, what happened was that yesterday at the Vidhan Bhavan, senior leader Sharad Pawar attended the high-level meeting of the Maharashtra-Karnataka-Belgaum border issues. Not only that, but it was also Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde who was seen meeting Sharad Pawar reportedly in Shiv Sena's cabin in Vidhan Bhavan. And my colleague, in fact, has spoken to Jitendra Award. My colleague Revati is getting us more inputs on the details. Take a listen into this conversation.
Yesterday, Eknath Shinde met Sharad Pawar sir, and
Eknath Shinde did not meet him. This is a wrong statement. Mr. Sharad Pawar, while he was coming down from the meeting of Belgaum, Karnataka border issue, he said, let me meet our MLAs. So naturally, one of the MLAs said, he said, where to sit? So one of the MLAs said that the nearest cabin is Eknath Shinde, and from Eknath Shinde's cabin, the staircase to go out is near. So naturally, this proposal was considered by everybody, and everybody thought it is right.
Sanjay Raut said we don't have such big heart. If someone wants to do it, we'll do it. It is not acceptable to us.
If it is not acceptable to them, it's okay. But there was no wrong intention in it. And Mr. Eknath Shinde was not present. He just came down to meet Mr. Pawar as he was sitting in his meeting chamber as a courtesy call, which we call our legacy, which we call our Sanskriti. He came, met for some 15-30 seconds and walked away.
It was given a name that you guys are meeting traitors and the people who are full of corruption.
I don't want to go into the history. Who was the first man to go and meet Mr. Ajit Pawar? Who was the first man to go and meet Mr. Ajit Pawar? I don't want to go into it. Because we have done no wrong, I don't want to give any explanation on it.
So there's no rift between Mahavikas Aghadi?
No, what kind of rift? If such issues are creating rift, then I think there is no political maturity left. There is no political understanding left.
So, and what about the thing he said that Rashtrapati Congress Bhavan is here, YB Center is here, you could have gone there?
He was here, na? We were here. We had our house. He had to go home. It was already late. And looking at his health, why should we, who have been with him for last 45 years, give him strain? Why give him physical strain? Either hai saab beto, let's have some tea, coffee. And he walked out.
It was just a small meet, and considering his health.
It was so informal that I never thought that it will be a topic of at all India level. Madness, yeah.
नहीं भी पवार साहब एक देश के बड़े नेता है. अगर वो माननीय हमारे मुख्य नेता एकनाथ शिंदे साहब के दालन में जाते हैं तो उनका सत्कार करना, ये तो महाराष्ट्र की राजकीय परंपरा है. उसमें गलत क्या है? नहीं भी पवार साहब एक देश के बड़े नेता है. अगर वो माननीय हमारे मुख्य नेता एकनाथ शिंदे साहब के दालन में जाते हैं तो उनका सत्कार करना, ये तो महाराष्ट्र की राजकीय परंपरा है. उसमें गलत क्या है?
आपको क्या समझना है समझिए, लेकिन एक है, हमारी पार्टी एक संघ है, एक साथ में है. और ये आज भी पवार साहब आने के बाद देखने के लिए आपको मिला है. मेरे ख्याल से हमारी पार्टी जो आमदार विधेयक है और जो एमपी है वो साथ में पार्टी के साथ पवार साहब के नेतृत्व में एक संघ है. आपको क्या समझना है समझिए, लेकिन एक है, हमारी पार्टी एक संघ है, एक साथ में है. और ये आज भी पवार साहब आने के बाद देखने के लिए आपको मिला है. मेरे ख्याल से हमारी पार्टी जो आमदार विधेयक है और जो एमपी है वो साथ में पार्टी के साथ पवार साहब के नेतृत्व में एक संघ है.
So those are the reactions that have come in from the parties, including the Jitendra Award of Sharad Chandra Pawar's NCP. And we have more details, in fact, coming in also as we continue to bring more details from what's happening in Maharashtra politics. The Mahaghadi is falling apart as Shinde also met Sharad Pawar. You can see those visuals as Deputy Chief Minister Shinde hands over that, presents a bouquet to Sharad Pawar. Revati joins us live in the broadcast from Mumbai. Revati, tell us more details. What are you picking up from your sources as there are reports that Sharad Pawar, there's a buzz which is only intensifying with this meeting between Eknath Shinde and Sharad Pawar?
So actually the meeting happened at Vidhan Bhavan yesterday, and the meeting was regarding the Maharashtra and Karnataka border. Many veteran and senior leaders were present at the meeting, and after that Sharad Pawar's vehicle was parked behind the Vidhan Mandal actually, and that is the reason why due to his health he wasn't able to walk so far, and the nearest cabin was the Eknath Shinde's cabin is what the reason is given by Jitendra Award and also senior leader of NCP SP Jayant Patil to Republic exclusively. And also the most important thing here is that yesterday the meeting was attended by many senior leaders including Jayant Patil, Sharad Pawar, Narayan Rane, Hassan Mushrif, and the meeting was chaired by Devendra Fadnavis. So after this particular incident, MP of Shiv Sena UBT faction Sanjay Raut said that this is not acceptable. He also said that we don't have such big hearts, and if it is acceptable to them, they can do it. But he also mentioned that it is an act of a traitor. They are sharing a room with the traitor, and also he said that this is not acceptable to us. So that is how the banter went on. But the NCP-SP leaders are clearly stating that this is a mere simple gesture because anyone in Vidhan Bhavan can enter anyone's cabin. It is not a big issue, and just because of Sharad Pawar's health, he was not able to walk more, and that is why he sat in Eknath Shinde's cabin. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Joining us there was my colleague Revati from Mumbai on what's happening in Maharashtra politics. Now we have more reactions coming in. This is from Uddhav Singh. Launched a sharp attack on Sharad Pawar after he met Eknath Shinde. Now Sanjay Raut claims that Sharad Pawar has lost credibility following this meeting. Verbal, of course, attack, verbal assault from Uddhav Sena coming in. Pawar's move being read as the last major ally, distancing itself from the Uddhav camp, triggering strong reactions from Uddhav leadership. Now listen in to Sanjay Raut. Okay, in fact, we have BJP's Tuhin Sinha also reacting to this situation that's unfolding in Maharashtra.
देखिए, संजय राउत जी जो हैं वो जिस प्रकार की भाषा का प्रयोग करते हैं राजनीति में, वो उनकी बौखलाहट तो दिखाता ही है। साथ ही उद्धव जी की पूरी पार्टी जितनी दयनीय स्थिति में है, उनकी दयनीय स्थिति को भी दर्शाता है। शरद पवार जी 85 वर्ष के हैं, अगर उनके लिए कोई गद्दार जैसे शब्द का प्रयोग कर सकता है तो ये दिखाता है कि कितनी बेचैनी है उद्धव जी के पार्टी के अंदर। लेकिन दूसरी बात, उद्धव जी को ऐसी स्थिति का सामना क्यों करना पड़ रहा है? केवल इसलिए क्योंकि उन्होंने बाला साहब ठाकरे की आइडियोलॉजी को, बाला साहब ठाकरे की विचारधारा को त्यागा। तो ये उनकी हरकतों के कारण उनके लोग उन्हें छोड़कर गए हैं। दूसरी पार्टियों को जिम्मेदार ठहराना, और यहाँ तो मात्र एक मीटिंग हुई थी, शिष्टाचार भेंट तो होती रहती है।
And viewers, General Dheeraj Seth, Chief of Army Staff, visited forward areas today along the line of control in Poonch, Rajouri and Sundarbani. He reviewed the prevailing security dynamics along the line of control and the counter-insurgency grid of the White Knight Corps. The Chief of Army Staff is seen being briefed on the evolving security environment, operational deployments, surveillance architecture, field innovations and integrated operational readiness. He also assessed the ongoing infrastructure development and formations sustained efforts to empower the communities of India's first villages through people-centric initiatives, and the Army Chief commended all ranks for their operational excellence and unwavering commitment. And viewers, Indian Navy has announced that warship Mahendragiri is ready to join the fleet, declaring where there is no legacy, a legacy is born. The Indian Navy highlighted the dedicated warriors behind the ship, highly trained personnel, united by honor and an unwavering commitment to the nation. Their relentless spirit has transformed steel into a formidable fighting unit, ready to face every challenge. The warship is set to be inducted this weekend.
Legacy, a legend is born. That defines Mahendragiri.
समंदर की तेज लहरों से महेंद्रगिरी के ऊंचे शिखरों से लहर को भांप, हर सीमा को नाप।
इतिहास के पन्नों में नहीं, इतिहास बनाने निकली है।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े, चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, war and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now, when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer, that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And
ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, war and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are
Thank you for joining us on Republic TV this evening at 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, the war continues. The war resumed as of 24 hours ago, and the fighting has escalated. We've had attacks reported near nuclear facilities in Iran, and Iran is hitting back. US bases targeted. We have that and more coming up. Here are the headlines.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
Prime Minister Modi's big address in Melbourne, thousands of people turn up at a packed Marvel Stadium.
Looked at Australia's relationship in its own right, which he has a unique gift for doing, I think, for all the countries he engages with, because, he seeks to have relationships with other nations which are in India's national interest.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison speaks to Republic, speaks about the special role that India is playing on securing the Indo-Pacific region.
China having some hegemonic control and impact on that domain. That is not in America's interest. It's not in India's interest. It's not in Australia's interest. It's not in the interest of the free world, frankly. This needs to be a free and open Indian Ocean.
The former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says we need a free Indian Ocean to ensure a free Indo-Pacific. War escalating in West Asia. A day after the ceasefire was broken, the Iranian army has retaliated. Air sirens sounded across US bases in Jordan and Kuwait. The massacre continues. More videos emerge showing the Pakistan army firing straight at civilians in POK. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister is in Australia, and a few minutes back he held a huge event called Melbourne Meets Modi. At a packed stadium at the Marvel Stadium, this is in Melbourne, mostly comprising the Indian diaspora. Our Prime Minister was on stage with his Australian counterpart, Albanese. Now, there is a significance to his Look East policy. The Prime Minister was in Indonesia, went to Australia, and then he goes to New Zealand.
Our editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami spoke to the former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison on why this is a significant visit. I'm playing an excerpt of that exclusive interview first up.
Well, big story continues to be our focus on the Prime Minister's visit to Australia, and we are joined by former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who met Prime Minister Modi earlier today. Hello and good afternoon, Mr. Morrison. How was your meeting with the Prime Minister?
It was very nice to see the Prime Minister again. It was 10 years ago when I first met him down in Melbourne, the MCG of all places, when I was a minister in the Abbott government, and obviously have had a wonderful relationship with him over the course of this past decade and a number of portfolios, and of course as Prime Minister. And it was great to see that the relationship that we built so strongly continues on, and new chapters are being written into it, and it's very good for both countries, and it's bipartisan, and it continues to go from strength to strength.
So I'm so glad to hear that. You have a very close personal rapport with Prime Minister Modi. Everyone talks about it. And, you were both Prime Ministers during a very difficult time of the COVID years of 2018 to 2022. Were there any common factors that brought you closer together besides your personal equation?
Look, I think we understanding of the importance of the Indo-Pacific region and the Indian Ocean component of that Indo-Pacific region. Australia has a coastline on the Indian Ocean which is greater than any other country in the world. Increasingly, we both understood the shifts that were taking place in geopolitics, and that, the relationship that we could form would provide an anchor, I think, to the partnerships in the region more broadly. And the Quad leaders dialogue, of which we were both foundational members, I think was pivotal to that. But I always found when I was in sort of multilateral fora with the Prime Minister, we were not quite finishing each other's sentences, but our perspective on the region and the issues that had to be managed, whether it was on trade or security or defence, this was, I think just a common sharing of view, which played well to the relationship. Plus, we both liked our cricket, we both liked our Indian food and all those things. So there was he has a good sense of humour, which I also enjoy, and so the personal rapport was very easy.
So you have spoken of, if you look back at your own point of view about the threat coming from China. So more directly put, is China a common threat, both for India and Australia? Or has the situation changed given the events over the last 4 to 5 months?
No, it's still, the situation hasn't changed at all. I mean, China changes tactics from time to time. With myself, and when I was Prime Minister, wolf warrior diplomacy was in its heyday, and bullying and intimidation and threats and illegal trade sanctions and diplomatic deep freezes and all of these sort of things were commonplace. And I think the target was to try and disrupt Australia's ties with the United States in the region. I think one of the challenges to the relationship in the past between Australia and China is China really, I think, only ever looked at Australia through the lens of our alliance with the United States. And Prime Minister Modi, looked at Australia's relationship in its own right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, switching tracks to the situation in West Asia. The Iranian state media says a perimeter of the nuclear plant has been hit in Bushehr. We're getting in some breaking news as the war escalates once again. Getting in pictures of blasts also being heard in Bandar Abbas in different parts of Iran. The Iranian state media claiming that a perimeter of the Bushehr nuclear power plant has been hit. Situation is escalating. I'll quickly get in a word from Major General Dhruv Katoch joining us on the broadcast. General Katoch, looking at how quickly this is escalating, what do you think the end game could be, sir, here for America once again? And they're hitting them at a time when the funeral is not even complete of the Iranian supreme leader.
Thank you, Ranjan. The way I look at it is this conflict, the start of the second round or the third round, whichever way you call it, it was initiated by Iran. Now, I see no reason why the Iranians actually targeted merchant ships which were getting out of the Strait of Hormuz. And they targeted 3 of those ships. Now, once you target those ships, and the Americans have, staked their reputation on saying that the Strait will be open, I think you force the American hand to retaliate. And once the Americans retaliated in multiple places on Iran, the Iranian political leadership and the IRGC, they have to sort of show face to their own people. So they've hit American targets in the Gulf, 4 separate places. But in my view, while this escalation has carried on and may still carry on for a day or two, I do not think it will go beyond that, despite the fact that Bushehr, on the outskirts, it has been attacked. I don't think the aim would have been to hit the nuclear power plant, but perhaps it was there to just send a message. But I don't see this going on for too long. And both sides, neither the United States nor Iran want to go in for a prolonged war. But I think the bottom line is the Strait has to be open. And if that is not done, then Iran, they're going to lose a very significant portion of their communication infrastructure, their railway lines, their bridges, the critical road links. And that is going to be very, very troublesome for them. Khamenei, his funeral is over. Now, when the conflict starts escalating, I think the goodwill which had been generated earlier for the political establishment, that will start to evaporate. So the next, I'll say 48 hours to 72 hours, we'll see how it happens. But honestly, I don't see it escalating further.
Stay with me because I'm getting in some more pictures, General Katoch, of the situation, not just in Iran, but Iran is retaliating. Now there are sirens being sounded in different parts of the Middle East. Let's quickly get our viewers the next bit of breaking news now coming in. We're getting in more details from different parts of the Middle East now. Footage showing Iranian missiles in different parts of the Middle East. So Iran is retaliating, and these are images of the Iranian missiles crossing Jordanian airspace en route US military bases. So it's the same drill once again. Iran is going after these bases, and Iran is hitting them hard. And the Iranian missiles were spotted over the Jordanian airspace. Okay, the next bit of breaking news now coming in. Some infrastructure has been targeted once more, so let me get you the breaking news on that. US striking railway bridges. One of the bridges hit was the Ak-Take Khan railway bridge, a trade link to Tehran's strategic partners China and Russia, located in northern Iran's Golestan province. So they have targeted railway bridges in the past, and they're targeting the railway bridges once again. The China-Iran rail corridor particularly has been hit. Let me quickly get in a word from General Katoch, if he's still there. General Katoch, it appears to be the same plan. They're hitting infrastructure. But we're still wondering what the trigger was in this particular case. Was there a trigger to break the MOU? People are wondering what went wrong.
I think the Iranians have gone horribly wrong this time. And ultimately, the people of Iran are going to suffer for what the establishment has done. There was no reason at all for them to target the ships. Up to that time, I think things were. I'm not saying that there was, bonhomie, but at least there was no firing. And then Iran started it. And once Iran started it, it is tit for tat. The Americans were hit, now the Iranians were hit, and the Americans are going to hit back. But the point is, Iran cannot hit the United States of America in US territory. They can hit the US bases which are there in the Gulf. in Jordan, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, perhaps Saudi Arabia. That is where those bases are. But beyond that, they can do nothing. And the Iranian capacity is also limited. So in my view, at some point of time, this is going to stop. The Americans don't want to continue, and neither do the Iranians. But a message has to go to both sides. And in the end, both have to be, both have to appear to their respective publics that they are not the losers. Even if they're not depicted as the winners, they cannot appear to be the losers. And then I think some sort of a ceasefire, a ceasefire can start off once again. It is a delicate situation, but as I said in the beginning, I think Iran has started this round, and they've gone horribly wrong, in my opinion.
With those inputs, keeping a close track, sir, because it has ramifications, and we've seen the ramifications of the war on India as well, especially on our fuel situation, on our oil imports. The markets are watching closely, and we are keeping a close track of the situation. Taking a break. On Republic, we'll get you more details of the other big stories we're tracking here, including the POK massacre. There are more videos coming in of Pakistani army, the Pakistani government now openly firing grenade launchers. Tanks, jeeps, grenade launchers being run over civilians in POK.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University. Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा और मसाला। प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा से। MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer, that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They are a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
At one point, when you listen to him talk, when you listen to him tweet, you begin to think whether the person is all right mentally. People are beginning to doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, his words are crude, but it also reflects an inner frustration. Heart of heart, he's a very frustrated man. You know what's making him angry? He says, I thought people hated Khomeini. You know why he's angry? He's angry because even the American media is beginning to show these pictures, ladies and gentlemen. The ocean of people who have turned out. You know what he's really angry about? He's angry at these crowds. He's angry that the whole nation of Iran has turned out for the 6-day state funeral of their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. You know how many people turned up? And all sobbing, all crying. But more than that, the sheer number of people. That sheer number of people. 24 lakh people so far have come out to mourn Khomeini. That's 2.3 million people. That is almost 2.5% of the entire population of Iran. 2.5% of the entire population of Iran, right? Like, let me give you a comparison, viewers. What is 2.5% the population of India? 2.5% the population of India would be somewhere between 3 to 4 crores. Now imagine if 3.5 or 4 crore Indians were to come together in one place. That is the scale of human gathering. An ocean of humanity never seen for a king before. An ocean of humanity never seen for a rock star before. An ocean of humanity never seen for a queen before. Never seen for an emperor before. An ocean of humanity that has never turned up to mourn one individual in the entire history of humanity, ladies and gentlemen. That's the number of people, and I'm not talking about the 70 international delegations, including India, China, Iran, Iraq, Russia, ladies and gentlemen. And the number of people is only increasing. And Trump has gone mad. He's gone completely mad. Things are so bad, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. That's what's irritating. That's what's gone into Trump's head. He doesn't know what he's doing. Here is a man who's feeling like a fool, having spoken of a regime change. Ladies and gentlemen, with that turnout, do you think they ever thought of a regime change? The people who thought of a regime change, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, have all been either fooled or are foolish themselves. I'm not using stronger language. You keep attacking a country and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, Trump, having gone completely mad, having seen these huge numbers turn out, is saying, tonight's the night I'm going to bomb the hell out of them. I'm going to bomb them more and more. This is a man who's dangerous. He's lost sense of proportion. He's misusing his position. He's failed in the deal. Now he keeps saying that he's keeping hitting the Iranians hard. But the reality is, and someone sent this to Donald Trump, the reality is, Donald Trump, you...
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चंकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से, एमटीएच का जल जीरा जीरा से।
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
At one point, when you listen to him talk, when you listen to him tweet, you begin to think whether the person is all right mentally. People are beginning to doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, his words are crude, but it also reflects an inner frustration. Heart of heart, he's a very frustrated man. You know what's making him angry? He says, I thought people hated Khomeini. You know why he's angry? He's angry because even the American media is beginning to show these pictures, ladies and gentlemen. The ocean of people who have turned out. You know what he's really angry about? He's angry at these crowds. He's angry that the whole nation of Iran has turned out for the 6-day state funeral of their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. You know how many people turned up? And all sobbing, all crying. But more than that, the sheer number of people. That sheer number of people. 24 lakh people so far have come out to mourn Khomeini. That's 2.3 million people. That is almost 2.5% of the entire population of Iran. 2.5% of the entire population of Iran, right? Like, let me give you a comparison, viewers. What is 2.5%?
Very warm welcome. You're watching Republic Global with me, Rakshita Mishra. And in this edition of our Global, we begin with the blockbuster Diaspora Connect event in Melbourne, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese unveiled the new Joint Defence Declaration. Of course, today, that was, of course, before the event in Melbourne. But the Prime Minister enthralled the members of the Indian diaspora. We'll tell you how and why this partnership, of course, matters, especially when it comes to the cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. We also bring you what's happening in West Asia, where tensions are surging after the United States launched deadly strikes on Iranian military targets, Iran hitting back with drones. And in fact, as we speak, there are more and more breaking developments also coming in, so stay tuned for that. And the story number 3 on our Global is, for the first time, the Iranian media has shown the ruins of Khamenei's house that was demolished. That's in shambles after the deadly US strikes, which also led to the death of late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Images emerge as Iran concludes his funeral ceremonies. And also on the show, we bring you much more, but first, check out the headlines from across the globe.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
Prime Minister's mega address in Australia's Melbourne. Prime Minister says Operation Sindoor was just a demo to the terrorists. India and Australia unveiled new joint defence declaration, defence innovation corridor to boost strategic and security cooperation. Trump orders fresh strikes on Iranian military targets. Tehran warns of retaliation, threatens to hit key shipping routes. Both the sides trade strikes. Iran releases first footage of Khamenei's damaged compound. Visuals reveal destruction caused by US-Israeli strikes. Major police raids target alleged grooming gangs in Australia. Authorities move to protect women and children from exploitation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese strengthened bilateral ties today as they signed a joint defence declaration that aimed at expanding defence and security cooperation. Addressing a joint press briefing, Prime Minister announced plans to boost collaboration through the India-Australia Defence Innovation Corridor, reaffirming both the nations' shared commitment to combating terrorism as well. Take a look.
It was a diplomatic marvel in Melbourne as PM Modi met his Australian counterpart. Melbourne meets Modi. The event at Marvel Stadium was a full house. Indian diaspora erupted in cheers as both leaders spoke.
साल 2014 में ऑस्ट्रेलिया आया था तो 28 साल के बाद भारत का कोई पीएम यहां पहुंचा था। तब मैंने कहा था कि अब आपको 28 साल इंतजार नहीं करना पड़ेगा। पिछले 12 वर्षों में मैं तीसरी बार यहां आया हूं।
He emphasized that the India of the 21st century is now working towards becoming Viksit Bharat.
21वीं सदी का भारत आज विकसित होने के लक्ष्य पर काम कर रहा है। ये वो भारत है जो कहता है grow more, achieve more. हम 140 करोड़ एस्पिरेशन से भरे राष्ट्र है। हम अधीर है, बेसब्र है। हम दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती इकोनॉमी है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi proudly spoke about India's strength during Operation Sindoor.
आपने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
He further emphasized how India stood as an example by taking humanitarian relief measures on time.
तुर्की और सीरिया में जब भूकंप आया, तब भी भारत ने बहुत तेजी से राहत और बचाव के लिए मदद भेजी। ऐसे अनेक उदाहरण हैं। पिछले साल हमने म्यांमार में ऑपरेशन ब्रह्मा चलाया।
Some breaking news right now.
हम लोग ऐसा नया कुछ नहीं बोल रहे हैं। हम बोला था कि आसमान नवान्न में आ सकते हैं, गंगा जी का पानी राइटर्स की फर्स्ट फ्लोर तक पहुंच जा सकते हैं, अनुपम खेर की सर पे फिर से बाल उगाल सकते हैं, लेकिन तृणमूल चौथे बार सत्ता में नहीं आएगा। और तृणमूल सिर्फ सरकार नहीं जाएगा, तृणमूल पार्टी समाप्त हो जाएगा। आज के दिन में तृणमूल की दरवाजे पे जनता ने ताला लगा दिया। बाचे बुचे जो ऑफिस था उसमें तृणमूल ताला लगा रहा है। ऐसे ही होने वाला था। और ममता जी बहुत कुछ बोला है, अभी जितना कम बोले उतना ही अच्छा है।
एक सवाल है, एलजी की ओर से लगातार कह रही है कि जो सुविधावादी है वो लोग बीजेपी में जाके ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं। जब यहाँ पे उनको सब कुछ फैसिलिटी मिला था, वो टीएमसी में आज डूबते हुए कबाड़ में वो लोग छोड़ के बीजेपी जा रहे हैं। क्या देख के आपने भी बीजेपी ज्वाइन किया?
किसका नाम बोल रहे हैं आप?
उनकी
सबसे बड़ी असुविधा ये है कि उनको कोई लेना नहीं चाहता, तभी वो तृणमूल में है। समझ गए ना? इससे ज्यादा मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकती।
बीजेपी में आप आए हैं, किन किन कारण से आप अगर
तो बोल ही दिया।
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी जिस बहुमत से बंगाल में जीत के आई है और जिस तरह से आसाम में आप लोगों ने देखा है बहुमत उनको मिली है, उड़ीसा में मिली है, त्रिपुरा में मिली है, इससे पूरा साबित होता है कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का जो विजन है उसके प्रति लोगों का विश्वास बढ़ रहा है, घट नहीं रहा। और मैं ये कह सकती हूँ कि आसाम में मैं रहती हूँ और आसाम में आपको पता है कि तीसरी बार बीजेपी की सरकार आई है और जो परिवर्तन और जो प्रगति का काम हुआ है, अगर आप तुलना करें, इसकी तुलना किसी भी पिछले सरकार से नहीं हो सकती। ये तय है। आप किसी सरकार की अच्छाई कर सकते, बुराई कर सकते, कमियां निकाल सकते हैं, पर जो डिलीवरी टू द लास्ट माइल है उसमें मोदी जी ने जो काम किया है वो कोई पार्टी इस देश के इतिहास में नहीं कर पाई है।
सुखेंदु जी, एक चार भाई
के समय आप वोकल हुए थे, आप विरोध प्रदर्शन किए थे, लेकिन तब आप रेजिग्नेशन नहीं दिए। आप उस समय रेजिग्नेशन दिए जब तृणमूल कांग्रेस सत्ता से चली गई है। और आप क्या चाहते हैं? इतिहास आपको कैसे याद है?
जो कुछ आपने देखा बाहर से देखा ना, कि मैंने क्या किया, क्यों किया, कब किया, कैसे किया। हिंदुस्तान में 800 सांसद है कुल मिला के लोकसभा और राज्यसभा में। 800 सांसद में से मैं ही पब्लिकली डिमांड किया था कि जिस तरह आरजीकर कांड का प्रमाण सबूत इसको मिटाया जा रहा है, उसमें पुलिस कमिश्नर और प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशन को कस्टोडियल इंटरोगेशन होना चाहिए, मतलब गिरफ्तार करके उसका पूछताछ किया जाए। दूसरे किसी का हिम्मत नहीं हुआ था समय ये बात बोलने का। उसके बाद मैं अस्वस्थ था, बहुत ही सीख था। एक दिन में 2 बार हमको बुलाया गया लाल बाजार में नोटिस देके। मैंने मेडिकल सर्टिफिकेट भेजा, मैंने कभी नहीं बोला नहीं जाऊंगा। क्यों नहीं, हम चोर है क्या, डाकू है क्या, लाल बाजार दिखाता है हमको क्या डर है। लेकिन आई वॉज बेड रिडन, आई सेंट माई मेडिकल टेस्टिमोनियल्स, इन स्पाइट ऑफ दैट those were not considered. Then I had to move the Calcutta High Court. एवं और वहाँ पे आके मेरे बड़े भाई जो वकील है मुझ जैसा, उनको पकड़ के बोला कि आप वो ट्वीट को उठा लीजिए, हम भी केस उठा लेते हैं। तो मैंने देखा कि 33 लाख लोग मेरा ट्वीट देख चुका है, मेरा पर्पस सब हो गया। अब ट्वीट हटाने से भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। और मैं पीस मांगना चाहता हूँ, मेरे एक बेटी है, पोती है, हमारा बहुत पत्नी गुजर गए 3 महीना पहले। अगर मैं भी गुजर दूंगी हर रोज, उसके बावजूद भी 3 महीना 4 महीना लगातार मेरे टेलीफोन पर, मोबाइल पर धमकी आ रहा था कि हमको हत्या किया जाएगा, हमारा बेटी को, पोती को किडनैप किया जाएगा। ये क्या मैं ढोल बजा के सबको बोलूं? और किसके पास जाऊं? उस पुलिस के पास जो पुलिस एक दिन में हमको 2 बार सामन किया था लाल बाजार में, वो विचार देगा, हमको प्रोटेक्ट करेगा। हम तो समझ गया था, उसी समय रिजाइन कर सकता था, लेकिन हमको डर था कि शायद मुझे भी सुपारी किलर लगा के ये कत्ल कर सकता है। क्योंकि बंगाल में जैसे बीजेपी का 400 से अधिक कार्यकर्ता और समर्थक उनका कत्ल किया गया, हमारा पार्टी का उस समय जो पार्टी था, उस समय पार्टी का भी वर्कर लोग को कत्ल किया गया। एक ही पार्टी का आदमी एक ही पार्टी को कत्ल कर रहा है। ये वातावरण था, एक भय और संतरास का वातावरण। तो हम अपने फैमिली को केयर करने का हमारा कोई जिम्मेवारी नहीं था क्या?
बस ओवर।
थैंक यू।
Good press. That was a big jolt to Mamata Banerjee as we see the 3 leaders from Trinamool Congress, Sushmita Dev and Shukhendu Shekhar Roy, all joining the BJP, and they are. In fact, let me just get you more details on that. Sushmita Dev, Prashanjit Chatterjee, Shukhendu Shekhar Roy, they all join the BJP. They are contesting for the Rajya Sabha, and that's the press conference coming in from Kolkata. All joining the BJP formally today, and that comes as a setback to Mamata Banerjee, as the party is completely slipping away from her, has slipped away from her. And those are the visuals of the official joining of the leaders who have now joined the Saffron Party that rules the West Bengal now. All right, viewers, now West Asia has slid into a dangerous new phase of conflict following the massive consecutive day aerial bombardment of the Iranian military assets by the United States. In fact, President Trump of the United States has emphasized that an interim ceasefire agreement with Tehran is officially over, launching fresh strikes on Iran after vowing to hit hard following Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, we have Trump also warning of bigger strikes and also claiming that Iran is begging for a deal. CENTCOM says that U.S. forces have hit approximately 90 Iranian targets, including air defense systems, coastal surveillance assets, and missile and drone storage sites, naval capabilities, and military logistics infrastructure along the Iranian coastline. And both the sides are trading strikes as we speak. In the latest, Iran has claimed that the compound of the Bushehr nuclear power plant has also been hit by U.S. strikes.
Short-lived truce is over. Middle East war begins again. Smoke billowed over Iran's strategic Chabahar port after fresh US airstrikes targeted military infrastructure. The strikes came after President Trump declared the interim ceasefire with Tehran is over, accusing Iran of attacking commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and vowing a forceful response.
We have many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem. They're sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make a deal badly.
According to US Central Command, nearly 90 Iranian military targets were hit, including the air defense systems and coastal surveillance assets. Washington says the operation was aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical maritime trade routes.
Yes, we just hit them very hard, and I say we hit them 20-1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. We did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night. They hit actually 3 boats, not 2. And when they hit, we hit back much harder.
Iran says it may quit the nuclear non-proliferation treaty if the US launches another attack. Iran also warned it could shut down Bab el-Mandeb Strait along with the Strait of Hormuz if US launches another attack. The escalating hostilities have triggered security alerts across the Gulf. Sirens sounded in Kuwait, while Qatar and Bahrain issued warnings following reports of Iranian retaliatory missile and drone launches. As fears of wider regional conflict grow, President Trump has warned that any further Iranian aggression would invite an even stronger military response.
So viewers, we're getting in multiple visuals from the war zone right now, dramatic footage that is emerging from the region. Well, first up, we show you what's happening at the Chabahar port. Iran's strategic gateway to the Gulf of Oman is under attack as US forces have struck key facilities at the Chabahar port, marking the major escalation in the conflict, the first strike on Chabahar since the ceasefire collapsed. Video number 2 shows you how the US campaign is extending beyond the ports and the military strikes. A strike has reportedly damaged the Akteke Khan railway bridge, a vital transport corridor linking Iran to regional trade routes. These are the first visuals from the site. In fact, Iran has also hit back in retaliation for the latest US strikes. Tehran has launched ballistic missiles and drones targeting US-linked military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. They are the visuals coming in from Jordan as well. Now visuals coming into how Iran's military infrastructure has been hit by the US strikes. Fire broke out at a facility linked to IRGC's aerospace program as fresh US airstrikes reportedly targeted multiple locations across Iran. Video number 5. In retaliation, Iran has launched attacks targeting the US 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and military bases in Kuwait in response to recent US airstrikes. Authorities are still assessing the extent of the damage and any casualties. While Bahrain said it successfully intercepted the Iranian missiles aimed at it, with air raid sirens sounding to alert the residents, the interceptions prevented the missiles from reaching their intended targets. For the first time since the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iranian state media has released footage showing the devastation inside the Tehran compound that belonged to Ali Khamenei. Now, the images reveal the collapsed structures, twisted metal beams and piles of rubble, offering a stark glimpse of the damage that has been caused during the strikes, the US-Israeli strikes that killed Khamenei in the beginning of this conflict. Footage has been released as Iran concludes a week-long funeral procession and buries its long-time leader.
Iranian state media has released what it says is the first official footage showing the destruction inside the Tehran compound of late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The video released to coincide with Khamenei's burial in Mashhad captures scenes of extensive damage, including collapsed sections of the building, twisted support beams and large piles of rubble. The compound known as the Imam Khomeini Hussainiya served as one of the Khomeini's most important venues for public addresses, meetings and religious gatherings. Khamenei was killed on Feb 28 during the opening phase of the US-Israeli military campaign against Iran. Several members of his family were also reported killed in the strikes, while his son and successor Mujtaba Khamenei was injured. His burial marks and the culmination of a week-long funeral procession that passed through Tehran and other key cities, drawing massive crowds and becoming a major show of support for Iran's leadership. The images underscore the scale of the attack on one of the most heavily protected and symbolically important locations in Iran's political and religious establishment. The footage comes at a sensitive moment for Iran as it navigates an uneasy interim agreement following months of conflict, while tensions with the US and Israel continue to simmer. Recent military exchanges, attacks on shipping routes, and fresh threats from all sides have fueled fears that the conflict could once again spiral into a wider regional confrontation. As Iran lays its former supreme leader to rest, the ruins of his Tehran compound stands as a stark reminder that the shadow of war still hangs over the region.
And that's all we get back in this edition of Republic Global. News and updates continue on the other side.
Co-powered by Crystal Crop Protection, देश का किसान, देश का हीरो.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात. वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा. सबका राजा और प्योर मसाला.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ.
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े. चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं.
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा. रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना.
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं. रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला. डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे.
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम. AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ.
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ.
8 मिनट में तैयार.
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर का मसाला.
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, war and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over.
Co-powered by Crystal Crop Protection, देश का किसान, देश का हीरो।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा राजा और मसाला
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा से। MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social posts at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Thank you for joining us here on Republic TV. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some details of political movement. Few days to go before the parliament session begins. The monsoon session officially begins on the 20th. And this one is extremely important for the government because they will want to take some big political decisions. They will want to make big political moves for which they will need a two-thirds supermajority, something that we here at Republic have been talking about. As part of the two-third majority plan is Sharad Pawar getting ready to switch sides. We have some big breaking news coming in, details of a meeting that took place. Here are the headlines. On this is exclusive. Closed-door meeting between Sharad Pawar and Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra Eknath Shinde, triggering a big political buzz in Maharashtra. All three in one frame. Pictures speak more than words. Tensions building up in POK. Situation going from bad to worse as Pakistani Rangers, Pakistani Army, Pakistani Police firing at people, grenade launchers, tanks.
Prime Minister Modi, looked at Australia's relationship in its own right, which he has a unique gift for doing, I think, for all the countries he engages with, because, he seeks to have relationships with other nations which are in India's national interest.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison speaks to Republic Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami, speaks about India's role in the Indo-Pacific region and the Prime Minister's leadership.
China having some hegemonic control and impact on that domain. That is not in America's interest, it's not in India's interest, it's not in Australia's interest, it's not in the interest of the free world, frankly. This needs to be a free and open Indian Ocean.
The former Australian Prime Minister tells Republic TV Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami that we need a free Indian Ocean to ensure a free Indo-Pacific. Speaks about China's role in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the numbers once again, and pictures speak more than words. Now, the pictures on your screen right now, that's Eknath Shinde felicitating Sharad Pawar. Now, is Sharad Pawar getting ready to switch sides? Now, he's above 80 years of age and he will want to pass on his party into safe hands. Does that mean that he will be joining the NDA to ensure that the future of his daughter and the future of his party is in safe hands? And if there is a future, what will that future be? Because Sharad Pawar, it appears, is cozying up to the NDA. He met Eknath Shinde. It was a meeting scheduled. Officially, we were told that it was a meeting on Maharashtra border, the border tussle between Karnataka and Maharashtra. Sharad Pawar was there at the table, very interestingly seated next to Devendra Fadnavis and Eknath Shinde. We had those pictures come in, all three of them in one frame. Now, does that mean that he's going to switch sides? Now, the timing is interesting. It comes a few days before. We'll show you the numbers as well and why this is adding up. It comes a few days before the parliamentary session. And in the parliament, the government will look to have a two-third majority because they need the two-third majority to push through some key legislations. Look at the pictures on your screen right now. That's Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis, Sharad Pawar. I repeat, Eknath Shinde, Fadnavis and Pawar seated next to each other. Now, that video and that visual tells you a lot. And when you look at the kind of reactions that are coming in, for example, you have responses coming in from the Uddhav Sena. Now, why did Uddhav leave the NDA and join Mahavikas Aghadi? It was on the insistence of, some say, it was on the insistence of Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar convinced Uddhav's sidekick, Sanjay Raut, to quit and join MVA. And today, Uddhav's party is unleashing Sanjay Raut on Sharad Pawar. They're abusing Sharad Pawar. They're attacking Sharad Pawar. In fact, Sanjay Raut very interestingly says that Sharad Pawar has lost all credibility. Now, that's the level of politics in Maharashtra today when there is name-calling between Uddhav Sena and Sharad Pawar. It's all happening. We have the numbers as well. Now, how will the numbers change? Because both in the assembly in Maharashtra and also the parliament, the numbers will change from Maharashtra. We have those numbers. We'll play that out. But first up, the responses that came in from both sides. And then we'll go across to Revati, tracking the story closely.
After this meeting, which you mentioned, regarding the border dispute, where Mr. Sharad Pawar is member of that committee, Sharad Pawar ji came down and he was going towards the exit of the building from the backside, where the vehicle had come. There, the vehicle was ready, but before that, some MLAs from our party requested him, please give us 10 minutes, we want to talk to you, chat with you. So we decided to have tea somewhere, and on the way, this was the only cabin, first cabin and last cabin, where after that Mr. Pawar was to go to the vehicle. And since we wanted to reduce the walking distance, all of us suggested that this cabin is empty, please let us sit here. So we went in, we used the room, and Mr. Pawar went.
Because of this very simple thing, you are being said that you are sharing a shelter or chair or a room with a traitor, and we don't have such big hearts. If that is acceptable to you, you should do that. And this is a statement made by Shiv Sena's MP Sanjay Raut.
I know he may not be aware of the situation, what happened then, but you all of us should understand that this is Vidhan Bhavan. So no room belongs to anybody. It is everybody's house. So all the people's representative can sit anywhere and chat. It is just a name where the minister sits in that cabin. So I don't think this is a very serious issue or should be taken in such a manner the way Mr. Sanjay Raut is taking today.
So there is no rift between Mahavikas Aghadi as mentioned by Sanjay Raut?
No, he is mentioning, we are not mentioning. So it is his side, what he has placed before the media. We don't want to say anything because it is a very normal gesture to use someone's room. If he was sitting and both were discussing, chatting for 2 hours, 3 hours, or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I can understand. Nothing of that sort happened. So I don't think these types of objections carry any, I would not use any word now, but...
वो यहाँ आए अपना बहगा कारवार सीमाओं के प्रश्नों के लिए, और जब उनको वक्त मिला तो शिंदे साहब के चैम्बर में जाके बैठे। इसमें क्या राजनीति मानने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं, और शिंदे साहब का भी मैं आभारी हूँ कि वो कैबिनेट छोड़ के आए और उन्होंने पवार साहब का सम्मान किया। ये महाराष्ट्र की संस्कृति आगे हमें को लेके जा रही है। अभी एनडीए के उनमें शामिल होना, देखिए पवार साहब मैंने बोला कि 60 साल की उनकी राजनीति का अनुभव प्रचंड है, उसके बारे में मैं कोई टिप्पणी नहीं करना चाहता।
And let's look at the numbers right now in the Maharashtra Assembly. When you look at the numbers very carefully, the BJP has about 132 MLAs in the Assembly. The Shiva Sena, that is Eknath Shinde, has about 57. NCP has about 41 MLAs, and all others in the NDA have about 7. So total number for the BJP right now is 237. The Mahavikas Aghadi has roughly about 48. That is the number right now. Out of the 288, that's the breakup. But in a situation where you have Sharad Pawar's MLAs join, now how does that change? Let's show you how it changes. 10 of these MLAs will move, then that number goes up to about 247. There is a possibility, 247, and the number of the Mahavikas Aghadi goes further down, will roughly be about 12% or 12 to 15% of the assembly, because the NDA has a supermajority. In that case, MVA 38, NDA 247. Let's go to the parliamentary numbers. Now in parliament, this is the number that matters. This is how MPs from Maharashtra are placed right now. The BJP in 2024 won 9, Shiv Sena won about 13, had about 13 MPs from Maharashtra, and NCP had just one MP, that is Ajit Pawar's party, had just one. As of now, 23, but the Mahavikas Aghadi had about 24, little more than them. But if NCP Sharad Pawar with 8 MPs move, if they join the NDA, the number goes up drastically. It goes up to 31. And the number of MPs will obviously reduce for the Mahavikas Aghadi. Now, these are the scenarios in terms of numbers. Let me go across to Revati. Revati, people were speculating. We knew that this is a possibility. It's going to happen at some point or the other. Is that point now? Is something happening in the next few days? Because the parliament session starts next Monday.
Right, so before we move forward, I would like to highlight the fact that some days ago on Republic, we exclusively saw that there was a high-level meeting held in Delhi with Home Minister Amit Shah, and the meeting was held between Home Minister Amit Shah and Sunetra Pawar, where on Republic, we exclusively saw that there is highly possibility where NCP, SP MPs will be switching sides. And now in the Maharashtra's Monsoon Assembly, we saw a big political happening, and that was Sharad Pawar, Jayant Patil and all other senior and veteran political leaders attending a meeting chaired by CM Devendra Fadnavis. Though the meeting was about the border issue, but later what happened caught everyone's attention. Sharad Pawar was seen felicitated by Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. So as of now, the version of NCP SP leaders is that it was just because of his health. They were concerned about his health, so that is why they didn't want him to walk more, so they asked them to sit in the nearest cabin, which was Eknath Shinde's cabin. And when this thing was known to Deputy CM Eknath Shinde, he left the cabinet and he came to meet Sharad Pawar. Though these things are said by the NCP SP leaders, and it is being just a mere simple gesture as mentioned by NCP SP leaders, but on the other hand, Shiv Sena UBT MP Sanjay Raut took a jibe at this very gesture, saying that they are sharing a room or they are sharing a chair with the traitors, to which now Jitendra Awad, while speaking exclusively with Republic, he said that I don't want to go dig into history, I don't want to talk about history. Now who did first join hands with Ajit Pawar is that is the very statement made by Jitendra Awad on camera. So there are many speculations going around it as of now, and also it is highly possible that in upcoming days we might see a different picture in Maharashtra politics.
Thank you for joining us with those inputs. That's the evolving story from Mumbai. Sharad Pawar going to finally join the NDA. Let's wait and watch, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to the big exclusive. Today we had the former Prime Minister of Australia speak to our Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami. As our Prime Minister, Modi goes to Australia, and there was a huge event in Melbourne called Melbourne Meets Modi, where over 30 to 40,000 people had gathered in a stadium to welcome our Prime Minister, and what an event it was. Now, on the back of that event and the ongoing visit of the Prime Minister to Indo-Pacific nations like Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, the former Australian Prime Minister spoke to us on the significance of our Prime Minister's visit. Here's an excerpt of that interview.
In India, there has been a lot of discomfort with, though Trump has been very sort of full of praise for the Prime Minister of late, but over the last 6 months, there's been a lot of discomfort with the pushing around, the tariff threats, the nature of language, you know how America has been operating. And that has had some impact in India, in the sense that Indians have become cynical about America, and that somewhere people have felt, geopolitical observers, would have an impact on Quad. So would all of this have an impact on Quad in the medium term?
No, I don't think so. And for this reason, I believe me, I understand the frustration that the trade agenda as pursued by the United States, the frustration that has caused us around the Indo-Pacific. And to be complimentary of the way that the Indo-Pacific has handled that compared to other parts of the world, particularly in Europe, I think has been far more pragmatic. And I think Prime Minister Modi has been a lead example of that, not unlike Prime Minister Abe was when we went round this last time. And I think it's judicious to, in some ways, separate out the trade track from the broader security track. Now, ideally, they'd be together, but the trade agenda pursued by the Trump administration is quite purposeful, but I wouldn't take it personally, is, I suppose, my point. What they are seeking to do is reset a global trade imbalance they perceive that has led to their deindustrialisation over the last 30 years. And as an ally of the United States, I can assure you that the reindustrialisation of the United States, and in particular of its defence industrial base, is critical to global security. And so whether one agrees or not with their method for doing that, I think it's important to acknowledge why they're doing it. And that is very much to ensure that they can continue to play the role that they see for themselves in supporting allies, but principally advancing their own interests. So I understand how that the trade signals can cause that frustration and can lead to, a message being received which may not be encouraging. But I certainly wouldn't take from that there's an underappreciation of the Indian Ocean theatre in the American security outlook and the role that India has to play in that. If I've noticed anything about the United States and how they're understanding alliances now, whether it's in security or trade, is they see them very much as a two-way street, and they're not interested in partnerships with passengers. They're interested in partners with, fellow travellers. And that means from Australia's point of view, we need to step up more on defence. And that's certainly the message that was delivered to NATO. In the economic sphere, they've set out, the burden sharing requirements there as well. So this will go on for a time, but this is why I admire what Prime Minister Modi has done, is he's understood the bigger picture of the relationship and how keeping that together is really important for India's national interests. And I think he's shown a lot of patience and forbearance, and that will serve, I think, India well in the long term, and I think it will serve the United States well.
So how, if I were to ask you, this Indian Ocean region, the Indo-Pacific, our concern here is in India that China, as you have yourself said, wants to dominate the whole area. It has the role of, it wants to see itself as a transnational bully in the region. India wants to bring balance, but at the same time does not want to be seen to be America's pivot against China. We have our own position. So if you were to, how ambitious is, how different is the role or attitude of America towards the Indian Ocean region compared to that of China? Do both have similar ambitions?
No, I don't think they have the same ambition. I think what the United States' interest is in the Indian Ocean is one of denial. The denial of China having some hegemonic control and impact on that domain. That is not in America's interest. It's not in India's interest. It's not in Australia's interest. It's not in the interests of the free world, frankly. This needs to be a free and open Indian Ocean, as I said, where the flow of everything from trade to data to fuel security and everything else can happen in the right way. So I think the United States' interest here is to ensure that any sort of dominant hegemony in that theatre is denied, but it's not to drive Chinese investment out. And I think this is a point that Prime Minister Modi makes well. He's not unconscious, like anyone in India, of what the potential threat is. But equally, it's not about driving China out. And I'm not suggesting that either. What I'm suggesting is that private capital in particular, that comes out of Western countries, as well as Quad members and Quad aligned countries, whether it's Korea or elsewhere, but certainly the pension funds in Canada and in Australia and out of Europe and so on. The investment of those private capital into resilience infrastructure, whether it be in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, or many other countries in the region, that lifts their capability and boosts their prosperity and balances off their exposure to what the World Bank would call single country risk or single source risk. That is the objective. And we've seen China's investments in strategic infrastructure, whether it be in Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka or in Myanmar or any number of places. It would be hard to describe them as commercial investments. There are commercial aspects to them, but I think the strategic intent is something very different. Now, that needs to be, I think, balanced with positive investment, which is focused on the development of those countries' economies. And that is also in India's interests, because India is an economic partner of all of those countries. It doesn't want to see their sovereignty compromised any more than Australia wants to see Indonesia's sovereignty compromised, or Malaysia's, or any of the ASEAN nations. We understand that most of those are not allies of the United States and aren't going to engage with the United States in the same way Australia does. But they want to be able to choose and to have multiple partners they can work with and not have one choice. And that's what we don't want for the Indian Ocean either. We want to provide some diversity of partners there. And I think we need to encourage, that's what the Quad needs to achieve. It needs to get more capital coming into the region, boosting prosperity in the region, because that is what provides stability.
Well, just in conclusion, I would say, Mr. Morrison, this is going to be a very interesting time. You shall be, I'm sure, a very important player, not just in India-Australia relations, in our business forums, but for what I call the Indo-Pacific commentary. You would have a global role. And for the viewers of Republic, we would love to have Scott Morrison visit our studios of the Republic Media Network next time he's here in India. And I think it's very interesting, Mr. Morrison, because the Prime Minister has been to Seychelles. He's followed it up with Indonesia and now to Australia and New Zealand. So India is also looking at the Eastern Hemisphere and the Indo-Pacific with a great deal of strategy and planning. And it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I look forward to catching up with you personally. Thank you, Mr. Morrison.
Well, I look forward to visiting you in New Delhi next time I'm in town, and I'm coming to India more frequently now. And you're right, I have a deep passion for this area. Well, I had it when I was office, and I shared that with the Prime Minister Modi, and it was great to have him here in Australia, and I hope he'll be back soon. As we say in Australia, he gets it.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets it very well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it on this edition of This Is Exclusive. The debate coming up at 8 p.m. prime time. Next, stay tuned.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा राजा और मसाला।
ऑक्टोरोमा मैनुअल वाइंडिंग 4 लोगों के पास है ये।
कुछ इससे भी अनोखा।
कमला पसंद सिर्फ एक अनोखा स्वाद। कमला पसंद पान मसाला।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
पापा सॉरी यार, गलती हो गई है। ये चोट खर्चा वर्चा।
अरे लास्ट बॉल पे छक्का भी तुम्हारा।
छक्का
सब कैशलेस हो गया है। हाँ
ला भाई मेरा बैट। वो अभी तो ठीक हुआ तू। डिस्चार्ज हुआ यार। बैट किसका है?
टाटा AIG है तो भरोसा है।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान। अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर
सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार प्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social post at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer that this MOU was dead. So the agreement is over and the war is back. And Trump is using very bad words. He's calling the Iranians scums. And he repeats the words. He says they are scums. You know what a scums are? They are scums. And then he uses even worse language. He says they are cuckoos. They are scums. They are cuckoos. It's over. They are sick people. They are vicious people. They're a bunch of liars. They are violent people. They are bad people. They are scum. He keeps repeating this ad nauseum.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. This.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा राजा और मसाला।
बड़े बड़े इम्तिहानों से गुजरता है, वक्त तराशता है जिसे, जो जाने क्या क्या ना करता है। जब तक खुशबू सबसे बेहतरीन न बन जाए, आराम के लिए नहीं ठहरता है। जब तक लाजवाब न बन जाए, उसे नहीं इत्मीनान है। तभी तो रिचमंड बनना नहीं आसान है।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा सिप MTH का जलजीरा जीरा सिप।
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
पापा
सॉरी यार, गलती हो गई है। ये चोट खर्चा वर्चा।
अरे लास्ट बॉल पे छक्का भी तुम्हारा।
छक्का?
सब कैशलेस हो गया है। हाँ
ला भाई मेरा बैट। वो अभी तो ठीक हुआ तू।
जो डिस्चार्ज हुआ यार।
बैट किसका है?
टाटा AIG है तो भरोसा है।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट।
ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट, स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चंकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
Just when you thought it could have been over, it's back. And Trump loves it. He loves the war. He's got nothing to do. You see, Trump is both unemployable and presently unemployed, which is why he puts out his Truth Social posts at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The man's got a terrible case of insomnia. Somebody take care of his health. He's going to really go down like this. He gets no sleep. He probably sleeps for 2 or 3 hours a day, then wakes up sleep deprived and goes through the whole cycle of war, and more war. Now he says, I don't like what's going on, so I'm going to start firing at Iran again. Iran is firing back. And I always believe that anything to do with Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, is bound to fail, because Pakistan is a failed state. Its politicians are failures. Its army is a failure. And this so-called agreement they were part of, signed in Zurich or wherever, is an absolute failure. And it has failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, now when a reporter during the NATO summit in Ankara, a reporter asked Trump, what happened to the ceasefire? Is it finished, ladies and gentlemen? He got the answer.
Very warm welcome. You're watching Super Prime Time with me, Rakshita Mishra. And in the next 25 minutes, we get you all the latest updates coming in from the country and across the globe. Let's get started with the headlines.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
Prime Minister's mega address in Australia's Melbourne. Prime Minister says Operation Sindoor was just a demo to the terrorists.
Prime Minister Modi, looked at Australia's relationship in its own right, which he has a unique gift for doing, I think, for all the countries he engages with, because, he seeks to have relationships with other nations which are in India's national interest.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison speaks to Arnab Goswami, hails Prime Minister Modi's policies, keeping the interests of Indians in mind.
China having some hegemonic control and impact on that domain. That is not in America's interest, it's not in India's interest, it's not in Australia's interest, it's not in the interest of the free world, frankly. This needs to be a free and open Indian Ocean.
Former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says need free Indian Ocean to ensure free Indo-Pacific. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis set to form 7-member committee to prepare a draft proposal for implementing UCC in Maharashtra. India and Australia have elevated their comprehensive strategic partnership to a new level. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today, with his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese, unveiling a wide-ranging roadmap for defence, security, trade and technology cooperation. At the 3rd India-Australia Annual Summit in Melbourne, the two leaders signed a joint declaration on defence and security cooperation and announcing an India-Australia Defence Innovation Corridor. He also addressed the mega diaspora event at Melbourne Marvel Stadium. Prime Minister Modi highlighted the country's journey towards Viksit Bharat, economic growth, and not to forget Operation Sindoor. That when he made that statement, we saw the Indian diaspora erupted in the Marvel Stadium. We get to all that and much more in this report.
It was a diplomatic marvel in Melbourne as PM Modi met his Australian counterpart. Melbourne meets Modi. The event at Marvel Stadium was a full house. Indian diaspora erupted in cheers as both leaders spoke.
साल 2014 में ऑस्ट्रेलिया आया था तो 28 साल के बाद भारत का कोई पीएम यहां पहुंचा था। तब मैंने कहा था कि अब आपको 28 साल इंतजार नहीं करना पड़ेगा। पिछले 12 वर्षों में मैं तीसरी बार यहां आया हूं।
He emphasized that the India of the 21st century is now working towards becoming Viksit Bharat.
21वीं सदी का भारत आज विकसित होने के लक्ष्य पर काम कर रहा है। ये वो भारत है जो कहता है ग्रो मोर, अचीव मोर। हम 140 करोड़ एस्पिरेशन से भरे राष्ट्र है। हम अधीर है, बेसब्र है। हम दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती इकोनॉमी है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi proudly spoke about India's strength during Operation Sindoor.
आपने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान डेमो तो देख ही लिया होगा।
He further emphasized how India stood as an example by taking humanitarian relief measures on time.
तुर्की और सीरिया में जब भूकंप आया तब भी भारत ने बहुत तेजी से राहत और बचाव के लिए मदद भेजी। ऐसे अनेक उदाहरण हैं। पिछले साल हमने म्यांमार में ऑपरेशन ब्रह्मा चलाया। श्रीलंका में साइक्लोन की तबाही हुई तो हम ऑपरेशन सागर बंधु चलाया।
Meanwhile, earlier in the day, both the nations signed a joint declaration on defense and security cooperation. The announcements were made during the 3rd India-Australia Annual Summit in Melbourne.
इंडो पैसिफिक केवल 2 महासागरों का संगम नहीं है। यह भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया जैसे लाइक माइंडेड डेमोक्रेसीज के शेयर्ड एस्पिरेशंस का भी प्रतीक है। रक्षा और सुरक्षा में सहयोग बढ़ाने के लिए आज हमने एक महत्वपूर्ण जॉइंट डिक्लेरेशन जारी की है। भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया डिफेंस इनोवेशन कॉरिडोर से हम डिफेंस स्टार्टअप्स और इंडस्ट्रीज को जोड़ने पर काम करेंगे।
Prime Minister Albanese emphasized that the two countries are staying focused on diversifying and deepening their strategic partnership. India-Australia also sealed a key deal under which Australia will supply uranium to India in line with New Delhi's clean energy goals.
हमारी रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पार्टनरशिप क्लीन एनर्जी और क्लाइमेट एक्शन में हमारे प्रयासों को साकार रूप दे रही है। इसके तहत हम इन्वेस्टमेंट, टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर और इंडस्ट्री टू इंडस्ट्री कोलैबोरेशन पर विशेष बल दे रहे हैं।
The two heads of state announced the establishment of an India-Australia critical minerals corridor to build a resilient supply chain.
आज हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया इंडिया पार्टनरशिप ऑन साइबर, critical टेक्नोलॉजीज एंड सप्लाई चेन्स यानी AI पैक्ट की पहल ली है। हम मिलकर क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स कॉरिडोर पर भी काम करेंगे।
Both the sides also held discussions on terrorism as a security challenge.
भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया मानते हैं कि आतंकवाद केवल किसी एक देश के लिए नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता के लिए गंभीर चुनौती है। इसलिए आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई भी साझा है, हमारे संकल्प भी अटूट है और हमारा सहयोग भी लगातार मजबूत हो रहा है।
Modi arrived in Australia on the second leg of his three-nation tour. He was in Indonesia before this and will visit New Zealand on the final leg of his tour.
This evening, and please join with me in welcoming my friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Monsoon fury continues to wreak havoc in several cities across the country. In Maharashtra's Raigad, nearly 3,000 LPG cylinders were swept away today after floodwaters inundated the HPCL bottling plant. From Delhi to Ghaziabad in NCR and Surat in Gujarat, heavy rains have caused severe flooding, infrastructure collapse and massive losses that further expose glaring civic failures.
Relentless monsoon rains continue to unleash destruction across several parts of the country. In Maharashtra's Raigad district, floodwaters swept away nearly 3,000 LPG cylinders from HPCL's Patal Ganga bottling plant. The cylinders, both filled and empty, were washed into the Patal Ganga river after heavy rainfall inundated the facility. The district administration has appealed to people to not touch any floating cylinders and instead hand them over to authorities or HPCL officials. Meanwhile, the national capital also remained on high alert as heavy rainfall lashed Delhi and the surrounding areas. Waterlogging affected several roads while a tree uprooted by strong winds crashed onto a parked car and a part of a house. In Ghaziabad, heavy rainfall exposed alleged builder negligence after a road suddenly caved in beside an under-construction building. A car and a two-wheeler got trapped inside a massive crater nearly 20 feet deep. Residents alleged repeated complaints over unsafe excavations and leaking sewer lines were ignored. In Noida, heavy rainfall triggered another civic scare after a portion of a commercial building suddenly collapsed. The upper section of the structure came crashing down onto parked vehicles, leaving several of them badly damaged. The incident has raised questions over the construction quality, with local residents alleging that substandard material were used.
नोएडा के सेक्टर 62 स्थित एक कमर्शियल बिल्डिंग का जो अगला हिस्सा है वो देखिए कैसे यहाँ पर गिर गया और एक बड़ा हादसा होते होते टल गया क्योंकि उस वक्त कोई मौजूद नहीं था। ये बारिश लगातार हो रही बारिश के कारण ये ऊपरी हिस्सा पहले गिरता है। सबसे पहले आप दिखाइए, सबसे पहले ये जो ऊपरी हिस्सा है वो छज्जा वो गिरता है नीचे और फिर यहाँ पर जो एंट्रेंस का हिस्सा है उस एंट्रेंस के हिस्से के ऊपर वो गिरता है। ये भी पूरी तरह से क्षतिग्रस्त हो जाता है। इसके ऊपर वाला हिस्सा भी आप देखेंगे तो ये भी पूरी तरह से क्षतिग्रस्त हो जाता है। और यहाँ देखिए अभी भी सारे ईंट और मलबे पड़े हुए हैं और एक गाड़ी यहाँ पर खड़ी थी, वो गाड़ी बुरी तरह से इसकी चपेट में आ गई।
Cut to Gujarat, where the city of Surat has witnessed one of its worst flooding episodes in decades.
Right now we are reporting from ground zero and we are standing in Surat's cloth market, and several such basements of different textile mills or factories are submerged under water still. Last day there was no downpour. Day before yesterday, 2 days it was the time of heavy rainfall, but still the impact is crystal clear and still we can see process to take this water out is still ongoing. We tried to talk to several traders and also the association members, A common complaint from the traders is that there was no prior warning or instruction from Municipal Corporation, NDRF or any other concerned department.
Larger parts of the city's textile market remain submerged, forcing thousands of traders to suspend business. Trade bodies claim losses worth crores after floodwater damage. Gujarat has reported more than 24 rain-related deaths.
There are several such factories over here, and exactly besides them there's a canal which is flowing. So possibility of overflowing was not warned anywhere in the instructions or guidelines, and that's what they are saying. If we would have been informed, we would have taken some measures. So in last 85 years all the records are being broken, and as we know in Gujarat 24 people have lost lives, in Surat 9 people have lost lives, more than 5,500 people evacuated, more than 3,500 rescued from the submerged areas.
As relentless rainfall continues across several states, the twin challenge of extreme weather and poor civic conditions is once again under sharp scrutiny.
Tensions erupting in Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir after Pakistan Rangers and police launched a major crackdown, unleashing violence on the protesters. They have fired upon the protesters in Rawalakot today. The Joint Awami Action Committee alleges that security forces of Pakistan used excessive force against peaceful demonstrators that included women and children, detaining several activists during the operation as well. The committee has also written to Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir, accusing the military of violating human rights. Public anger is mounting. It seems that the water is now flowing above the head of Pakistan.
Pakistani Rangers and police have once again launched a forceful crackdown on peaceful protesters in Rawalakot, escalating tensions across Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Security forces advanced towards the Kotli protest site from both the Rawalakot side and the Shujabad side as thousands gathered for the Joint Awami Action Committee's final protest call. The demonstration was organized after Pakistan failed to meet the 48-hour deadline set by the committee to address its long-pending demands. Meanwhile, the JAAC alleged that the Pak Rangers violated the sanctity of peaceful protest sites. They attempted to storm protest camps and nearby homes, using force against women and children. Sources say the attack in Shahjabad area today killed 2 young men and several others were injured as a result of the firing by the forces. Following the attack by Pak Rangers, Dr. Masood Khalid posts a raw video from inside his car after police allegedly raided his home. The video reflected his credible fear of targeted killings by state forces in Azad Jammu and Kashmir.
Approximately 35 to 40 people in police uniform with their faces covered with masks jumped over the walls of my house, and they came to me. They woke me up and they started beating me. They were slapping me, punching me, hitting me with the wooden rods, and they were kicking me.
Reports also suggest that several protesters were detained during the operation as authorities attempted to disperse the gathering. Condemning the action, the JAAC said it has consistently urged people to remain peaceful and pursue constitutional means to secure their rights.
And Maharashtra has taken its first major step towards implementation of a uniform civil code. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has announced a 7-member high-level committee headed by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ranjana Desai to draft the rules for the UCC in the state. Announcement has, of course, triggered multiple political reactions. Opposition seeking more clarity on the proposal. Here's more.
Maharashtra has formally initiated the process of framing a uniform civil code. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis announced a 7-member expert committee in the Legislative Assembly to draft the UCC rules. The committee will be chaired by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ranjana Desai.
राज्य शासनामार्फत सर्वोच्च न्यायालयाच्या निवृत्त न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ती श्रीमती रंजना देसाई यांच्या अध्यक्षतेखाली 7 जणांची समिती गठीत करण्यात येत आहे आणि साधारणपणे पुढच्या 6 महिन्यामध्ये या समितीने आपला अहवाल द्यावा असं अपेक्षित आहे.
The panel includes retired High Court judges, a constitutional expert, a former Chief Secretary, a former Advocate General, and representatives from the social and education sectors. Once completed, the committee will submit its recommendations to the Maharashtra government. Justice Ranjana Desai had earlier headed the committee that drafted Uttarakhand's Uniform Civil Code, India's first such law to be implemented by a state. Maharashtra now becomes the latest BJP-ruled state to move forward on the issue. The announcement has also sparked political reactions from the opposition. NCP leader Jitendra Awadh said he would first study the committee's recommendations before commenting on the proposal.
What's your stance on UCC, which is UCC?
I have yet not seen or read the contents of what Mr. Fadnavis has said on the floor of the House. I'll just go through it and then we will have to take a stand on it. Give me some time and I'll come out with a stand.
Discussions on the UCC have gained momentum across the country. In May this year, Assam passed its UCC bill.
And with that, a wrap in this edition of Super Prime Time. Up next is the debate with Arnab Goswami at 8 p.m. More on the Maharashtra politics. We'll show up us with sides.
Co-powered by Crystal Crop Protection, देश का किसान, देश का हीरो.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ.
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.